Well, my dear class 9 students, I'm so glad to be with you once again with your English classes. I'm sure you have been following the program that was given by the Department of School Education. And today we are going to be dealing with a prose that is a Christmas carol. A Christmas carol written by Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens is a very popular name for all of us. You might even have heard of stories and read about it. He also writes stories in a humorous way that we all like to read, right? And this is also a story that we will all enjoy because these are some things that we can relate to ourselves in our daily lives. These are some things that we experience and we come across because we will be discussing about some people whom we can also picture in our environment. Though we may not be literally dealing with these people in our lives, they come in different forms, and you will also find that all these kind of people are there even today in our present society. A Christmas carol. When you saw the topic, you will have realized how you went for carols during Christmas, right? We all want to go for it, whether it is because we want to collect money. Sometimes it may be in the wrong term. Some people may be viewing it in that term. But Christmas carol literally means to spread the joy of Christmas. Is as the festival seasons come, there will be a lot of people who are celebrating and enjoying. But we know that some families are not as privileged as that. They do not have enough necessities at home. They might not be having the peace of mind at home, the unity that they need to have as a family. So, Christmas carols are usually done in order to spread the joy. Though people might be viewing it in other sense, I want you to know that it is our duty to go for carols, even as children, because when people see children or the young ones, their minds are filled with joy. I'm sure even you, when someone younger comes to you and sing, though the voice may not be very good, you still like it. And so the same thing is with you. For the parents, you are still a young boy, a young girl, though you may consider yourself to be grown up by now. And I can really understand that. Okay, and so we will see that a young boy will go for Christmas carol in this story, and to spread the joy, not to have anything, but he wanted the joy of Christmas to be given to everyone. And we are going to come across the name of a person called Ebenezer Scrooge, and we will also come across a person that is Bob Cratchit, and we are going to be, our story starts on the Christmas Eve. Okay, you know what is Christmas Eve? The evening before Christmas or the night before that will be considered as Christmas Eve, and it will start at 3 p.m. Remember, we are going to start our story at 3 p.m. So your time may be a little different right now as you are viewing this. I want you to take yourself back to 3 p.m. and then consider the weather at that moment. And as we all know, Christmas is during the winter season. The weather will be so densely cold. We are also going to discuss about the weather here, and we will find a nephew, that means the nephew of Ebenezer Scrooge here, and we will be discussing all these points in detail. If you have your books, you can turn it to page number 144 till 152. You will find the story, though we cannot finish the whole story today. The story goes like this. It was an evening, a winter evening, that is on the 24th. It's 3 p.m. and Mr. Ebenezer, he was a very, very rich man, okay? He did not even get married. He did not have children of his own. He lives all alone. I repeat, he lives all alone, and he was not a young boy anymore, a young man anymore. He was already a grown-up man. Okay, he was already a grown-up man. Okay, let's discuss the story in the present tense because I want you to be present in the present situation where the nephew and Mr. Scrooge are going to be having a discussion. Okay, this will be something very natural for some of you. For some of you, it may seem a little out of your circle, because we all live in different environments. Okay, Mr. Scrooge was still in his counting house, or let's consider our modern day office. He was a rich man. He will be surely having an office, and he was still there busy with his wealth. Okay, and the little nephew came in. His nephew came in, and then he came in just to wish him a Merry Christmas. Okay? He did not come in to ask for anything. He did not expect anything from the uncle, but he just came to wish him a Merry Christmas because Christmas is approaching. It's just the next day. So he wanted to spread the joy that he had in his mind, even to his uncle, that he had in his heart. When we have the joy, the peace and contentment, we know that sometimes money doesn't matter to us. I do not deny the fact that we need money for so many works, for so many reasons, but the most important thing is the inner joy and the peace, which money cannot replace. This is something that the nephew had. So he just came in and wished him a Merry Christmas. But his uncle, Ebenezer Scrooge, did not like his nephew entering his office, and the story says that without any knowledge the boy entered, without his uncle getting to know that the boy was coming to him. Who knows, if he knew that the boy was entering his office, he might even have prohibited this young boy to enter his office. But it was so dense, okay? It's so foggy. I've told you about that, right? It's only 3 p.m. but it's almost dark because of the fog, and that was also the reason why Mr. Scrooge did not see the nephew entering his office. It was so dense that it feels like the cloud can enter the house. The clouds are entering the house, even through the cracks of the walls, the doors, or the keyhole. You know, if there will always be keyhole for you to open the door. So the clouds were entering, the smoke were entering the house, even through the keyhole. So you can imagine, and the house just opposite to you appears like phantom images, not clear. Okay, phantom images means not clear images. So the house just opposite to them. We are not talking about anything that is far away from them. Just the next house appears to be like mere phantoms, which they cannot even recognize whether it's a house or not. And so with all this, the man did not see the young boy entering his office, but he considers Christmas to be a humbug, a thing that is useless. He considers that we will study this later on. He considers that Christmas was just a way to waste money, an excuse to pick a poor man's pocket. That is what he said. And when the nephew got the response from his uncle, he was shocked, and he thought that his uncle must be kidding. He thought that he was not serious, and he asked uncle that he might just be joking. Uncle said, "I'm serious, it's a humbug." And then the little boy did not lose the hope here. He did not lose his calmness. Sometimes when somebody tells us or says something which is not very pleasant for our ears, we want to reply them back. We would also want to react to them back in the same way that they are treating us. But this boy did not do any such thing. He just kept his composure. That means he was just as normal as he entered the room. And he again asked his uncle whether he really meant it or not, and he was suspecting that his uncle was just trying to crack a joke with him. But he found that his uncle was serious, but he just said, "Okay, Merry Christmas," and then uncle wished him good afternoon, and even as he was going out, he said, "And a Happy New Year." And then Scrooge had no other answer, but he just said good afternoon once again, because he did not really feel that Christmas is a time to be merry and New Year is nothing to be happy about, according to Mr. Scrooge, who was a very rich man. And the uncle told the young boy, "What right have you to be merry and happy because you have nothing?" See, the mindset of the uncle is so much more negative than the boy who had nothing. He was just a poor man, a poor boy, but he was still able to keep the joy and the happiness. And this little boy, and the boy said, "Uncle, I have not entered into any quarrel with you. I have never quarreled with you, and so why would you think that this is unnecessary, or maybe you are saying this because you are unhappy with me?" Uncle had no other reply. He just said, "Christmas is a humbug. That means a thing that is of no use, just a way to spend money by someone." And the little boy was shocked, and he wanted to understand the real meaning of what his uncle said, because uncle also said that that is Mr. Scrooge, he also said that the boy had no right to be happy. So he reacted back in the same way right now. Just listen. The boy said, okay, so you have all the money and the wealth that you need in life. You have no right to regret, okay? You have no right to be unhappy. You have so many things. If you think that money is the sole important thing for a person's life, that cannot be, because you are always unhappy and you have no right to be sad or to regret about life. What right have you to be sad? You have a lot of money. The boy said. The uncle had no other answer. He just said humbug, wished him good afternoon, and sent him back without anything. What we normally do is, when a group of kids come for Christmas carols, we also want to give them something. Not to pay them back, but to pay our gratitude, isn't it? Because they have come to spread their joy, the cheer of Christmas that they carry along with them. But there are some people, you might have gone for carols, there are some people who will even lock the doors when they hear kids singing carols around. Okay, I'm not going to say whether it's right or wrong on anybody's part here. Let's just leave it there, because I want you to make a wise decision. Okay, but it is always good for you to keep going and spreading the cheer, the joy of Christmas, even to the people, because there might be some families who needs joy even at the moment when we think that everyone in the village or everyone in the town is enjoying, having a time of celebration together. There might be a sick person there. There might be someone struggling with depression. Who knows, the little songs that you sing might be of an inspiration to them, for them to restart their life. The boy just came with this, and even as he was moving out of his uncle's chamber, his office, there was the clerk. You know who is a clerk, right? A man who does the paperwork in an office. So Mr. Scrooge and his clerk were still in the office on the 24th of December. I want you to think of this practically. If you are asked to go to school and stay there till 3 p.m. on 24th of December, what would be your condition here? What would be the situation that you will be in? You will not like it, right? And so, but they were working, because Mr. Scrooge did not want to give off to his clerk. And then as he was moving out, the little boy wished the clerk a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And the clerk also wished him back. The clerk wished the boy back a Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. And so Bob thought that his clerk had gone mad, okay, mentally unfit. He thought that the clerk is not mentally well, because according to Mr. Scrooge, the only source of happiness can be wealth and money, and his clerk earns only 15 shillings a week. 15 shillings a week. In those days, the value of money differs. Shilling is also a currency, okay? Like we use the word rupee. So this man earns only 15 shillings a week. You can consider the 15 rupees in Indian currency. So in 1 week he gets 15, though in the present context, in the present situation, the value might have gone up a little bit, but it is not his fault. It is the fault of Mr. Scrooge, who pays the clerk, right? He cannot blame the clerk for getting less money as his salary. And when Mr. Scrooge overheard the two persons talking, he was thinking to himself that there is another lunatic in the next office, that is his clerk, because he feels that money is the only source of happiness. And this man, who earns only 15 shillings in a week, is wishing the boy a Merry Christmas. And for the boy, even this clerk was as cold, but he is in a way much better than Mr. Scrooge, because he was wishing him back. In spite of the poverty that he was struggling, he earns only a little bit of money, but he still kept the warmth of Christmas to be passed on to others. And this also shows it's already 3 p.m. They're still in the office, and there is nothing to warm the clerk here. Because if Mr. Scrooge have been a thoughtful and understanding man, or just a normal man, let's take it, he would have given some heaters, or maybe even in those time, even if they do not have those kind of things, he would have given some fire to let him warm himself in such a foggy winter evening. He was just sitting in a very cold room all alone, but he still wished the boy back. This shows the attitude of positivity in the man. And as the boy went out, there were some other people. See, you can imagine the condition of Mr. Scrooge right now. He did not want anybody to come because he fears that if anyone comes, they would be asking for money. And this is exactly what he would be experiencing. And as soon as the boy went out, there were some portly gentlemen. Portly means healthy, or you can even call fat, okay? There were some portly gentlemen who were coming to his office. And this portly gentleman, there were some group of men, okay, around 2-3 of them, and so they came in, and they were a group of people who make donations to the poor people during the Christmas season. And they said, Mr. Scrooge, we are a group of people who works for the poor people, and we want to make the life of the poor people a little comfortable by our charity works. That was what he said, and Mr. Scrooge was angry at this. He said, are there no prisons to keep them? See, the word that this man says, in spite of the wealth that he had gathered, he had a lot of wealth, so he hired somebody to be the clerk to help him manage his wealth, but he still did not want to give his wealth to help the poor. We can see this attitude. And he also said that he did not want to give, and it would be better to send these poor people to prison so that they would at least get some warmth and some food even during this season. He said that he does not believe in Christmas. It is just a way to pick a poor man's pocket. And these people thought for a moment that Scrooge was not serious about it, and they said, what would you like to give? So they were ready to write down his donation. You have also seen donations coming to your parents, right? To contribute to a church, to an organization, or to a group of people who needs help. Even during difficult times, if there's any natural calamity, you also might have donated even in small amount, right? If any of your friends are sick, what the students usually do is they will collect a little bit of money from their pocket, and they collect those things to give it to their friend who is sick. So these are also people like that. They wanted to do a little bit of thing for the winter season, for the Christmas season, because everyone will be enjoying, and the people who are poor will not be able to enjoy anything. That is the reason why they came to Mr. Scrooge. But when they were ready with the pen and the paper, he said nothing. Mr. Scrooge said nothing. Okay, that means they thought, you want to be anonymous. There are some people who does not want their name to be written. So they thought that Mr. Scrooge was a person like that. Okay, so they thought, you mean you don't want your name to be entered? And Mr. Scrooge said, no, I do not want to give anything. Send them to prisons. That's what he said. And he said, how can I spend my hard-earned money on a poor person who is lazy and is still poor? For him, everyone who is poor is usually because they do not want to work or they are lazy. But it is not like that. Some people are not as privileged as us to be getting a work, or maybe the family conditions might have been prohibiting them some situations, and that could be the reason why they are poor, or might even be the physical sickness. But for Mr. Scrooge, everyone who is poor is because they are lazy, and he did not want to contribute anything. So the gentlemen were just shocked, and they left without saying a word, and they could not believe what Mr. Scrooge said. This story is a long story. We will be continuing in the next class, but I am requesting you and advising you to finish the story again before we meet, because the explanation will continue. Thank you so much for listening.